Welcome to A Game of Ice and Fire, a video series devoted to A Song of Ice and Fire wargame by Cool Mini or Not. We cover all aspects of the hobby with tactics and list build videos, painting tutorials of varying levels, and battle reports. Okay, so I decided to bring the Weeper this time because I promised the Facebook people whatever they picked I would play. So I'm running Mance and Styre as my NCUs, and I've got just about two of everything in the main list: two followers, two cave dwellers, two raiders, and an assortment of attachments to take advantage of Mance.
I feel like Styre makes everything playable.
Yep.
And so here I am playing a stupid list. I got Flademan with Brendan Tully, 2 units of Outriders, and then the new Tully Cav is what it's the Sword and Shields plus Brienne because they're 9 points. Eddard and
Yeah.
Sansa for my NCUs.
So deployment for me was pretty straightforward. I knew that he was not going to be able to cover a lot of the board with the cavalry, so I just spread out and tried to get kind of symmetrical, but you can kind of see that my 2 units of bone guys are in the middle because I figured that's where they would be most impactful. And we are playing the new Winds of Winter.
Yes, I think that's what it was.
So this was the update for Winds of Winter. We got our 5 objectives down. I've got my grip of 5 secret mission cards in my hand, along with the we'll start revealing as the game progresses, of course, but this
At the
is
end of turn 2.
yeah. And I know your deployment is not extremely complex, but what were you thinking with having so few bases, and especially having one off the table?
Wow, I don't have a footprint at all. That's my thought. I'm also thinking to myself, I wish I would have read Brendan's card a little better.
Yeah.
Because the Tully Cav, which are represented by Tully shields on a Cav base, I know that's the best. Brian's idea. They should have been where the Flademen are, and Brendan should be where the Outriders are, and the Outriders should be where the Cav are.
Yeah, it's really easy to
Brendan
miss
lets you
that Pathfinder ability.
Yeah, he just lets you go over everything, and life is good.
And then this is my favorite thing about Mance in the early game is dropping him down on that tactics, or the missive on the tactics board, because not only does Mance put out a condition token, but he gets to put one out from that ability too. So I think the typical response for getting conditions out is just to burn an NCU on the coin so that you can remove one. So I did put weakened on the flayed men, and then I think I put weakened on Brendan's unit. Well, Brendan's
correct.
unit is the flayed men, but I put weakened on the Tully Cav.
The Cav, yeah.
And then weakened on Brendan's unit, because with Mance's influence, that shoots him down to speed 4.
Yeah.
Which is a devastating thing, but I think it also forces
Brendan
you to
gets up to speed 5.
Yeah, that's right, because it gives him +1 speed. Yep. Forgot about that. So for me, I'm really going to try, and you can kind of see where my movements are already going. I'm trying to do this whole like weird V formation where John's going to have to force to the middle eventually, but I want to make sure I've got units positioned on the sides to make sure that I can kind of swarm around his units.
Yep, and I didn't ask Brian what Harma as an attachment does at this point. But I'll find out soon.
Yep. So with Winds of Winter, we have the ability to preview kind of like, or set up what we're doing with our turns. I don't remember, or I don't know if you remember what you were kind of setting up with your hands here, but how much of your turn 1 was taking in your cards into consideration to try and set yourself up for an easy score on turn 2?
So I've got quite a bit actually. So I've got 2 possible ones that I could go with. I've got a objective that says reveal this, score 3 points if you're the only thing. If you're the only thing touching it, it's not contested. And then I've got another one that says gain a point every time you charge. So I'm thinking, all right, well, the Outriders are going to come in. I'm going to go on the horse. They're going to get a charge, so there's a point.
Yep.
Odds are pretty high that the Tully Cav or the Flightman should be able to get a charge as well. So we're good there. And then I have a card in my hand, Sun Charge. So put an NCU on the board, get a charge.
Yeah, you'll get some
So
easy points right there.
I'm thinking that I should be able to get a bare minimum of 2 points with a maximum of upwards of 4 points this turn
So,
with what I have there if I go with that route.
and just to call out some shenanigans, I've got some people might be confused on why my cave dwellers are looking all weird and cocky. Um, I know that Brendan's outrider unit, or not his outrider unit, but the one that he's outflanking with, is off the corner of the table somewhere. So I want to make sure that I can make sure that I've got a good line of sight to be able to deal with them. However, I think I should have faced them a little bit more on the backward side, especially since I have Harma. You could see there's a palisade by Weeper's unit right now. Harma had, after she moved, jutted him up a little bit so that when this turn comes around, if the swords icon or the swords position becomes kind of available and ready
Useless.
for me, I can just zap an NCU onto it to get rid of that palisade. So the Weeper isn't completely blocked. If anything, right now that palisade's kind of saving his unit, and then I have the agency to get rid of it.
Yeah, because if that palisade weren't there, then I would just take the Flightmen and march them right up to that unit.
Exactly, you just go right for it because the Weeper, when he's an NC, when he's a commander, he has still has his at any cost ability. At least I'm pretty sure. Um, so he's not hurt too much from the flayed men business, but having 8, potentially 12, like I'm potentially it could be 16, but um it's 8 critical blow hits is still going to do a lot of work to that unit. So
Yeah.
this is where I'm lamenting my positioning and being like, well, son of a gun, I should have turned them around a little bit more. Because I think with Harma, now that I've kind of come around to thinking that 4 points of my list are always going to be taken up, and one of them is going to be Harma, I really should have faced those guys backwards. But at
Yeah.
least when you're charging cave dwellers, it doesn't matter.
And I was say this is where I made the mistake of charging Cave Dwellers.
Hmm.
Cave Dwellers are just as easy to kill in the front as they are the back.
Yeah,
And
and with their morale, they're really not feeling it that much. So we only lose 7 here, which it sounds real bad, but if this were a heavily armored unit, that would be much worse because they're more valuable that way. But right now, I'm just
yeah,
not
and
concerned about losing that many bodies.
it could have been worse. Right? Like I could have rolled more crit blows.
Oh, he
I don't
doesn't
have crit blows on those. That
have
ignore me.
he doesn't have at any cost when he's a commander. He has the horrific reputation and the extra 2 wounds or whatever when you fail panic. So Steyer went on. This is where like kind of my Weeper plan fell apart because given that horses were in my butt, um, I took Steyer and put him on the combat position because um, I really don't think you can give that opportunity up when you get it so early. So since John had retreated out, I also wasn't punished by not changing the facing on my guys. I was able to just pivot around and get ready for the charge.
Yeah, so this is where I said I'm gonna activate an NCU. Do you have any cards that you want to play? Because I've started being good about making sure I leave time for that trigger.
Yeah, especially when people are playing Mance, it's really important. With the Weeper, it's a little weird. Um, he doesn't really have anything that is reactive for the most part. Um, but some things in the free folk deck are they can do that.
And then I decided to use a Eddard thing from the leadership check last time.
And this is where you're stacking points for charging.
Yep. And all right, what was that? 7? Yeah. So
Yeah,
that's just the
they
unit.
didn't get the chance to stay alive and swing back with that Styre influence, which is unfortunate because that's where I really would have liked them to be. And now that unit's really far away, but I have a trick up my sleeve.
Yeah. Yeah, you do.
So I'm really not like now I've got this Outrider unit in my backyard and I'm not feeling good about it. So instead of letting John heal wounds, I'm throwing Mance down on the Cavaliers, weakening them and making them one less speed. So now they're only chugging around at speed 4. But I am
Yep.
not
So,
healing anything in my unit. I am throwing down Endless Horde.
yep.
Ba-ching.
Hello.
And I've when I realized that you could keep attachments in units when you were playing on
Clash of
Clash
Kings.
of Kings, I had kind of carried it over into the Endless Horde, so that Alpha is still on the unit, but I recognize it later, and
It
we
goes
we
away.
take the Alpha off, which is a real
Yeah.
bummer for me.
Oh no, it was not a bummer. It was good.
Yeah,
And
just
so this
being
is where our
Alphas are nice; they're really good.
yeah, this is where I'm just kind of sad. Like, wow, that speed 4 really hurts.
Yep, it sure does with that unit. They're even though they get to maneuver first, it's still like your charges aren't really reliably getting in well. Like you have to be set. You have to be like 6 inches away from something to be able to get it above the average, right?
Yeah, and I didn't have anything to help me with that left in my hand. So
Yep. And here this is another like conundrum with this Palisade now since I had to kind of change gears with the Styre activation. Harma's kind of blocked by both of the units that are turned all weird. So I have to try and figure out how I want to go because I only really wanted to maneuver her instead of just giving you Harma's unit. But I think ultimately here I have to march her in order to get her past those two units and then trigger her follow me order.
yeah, and this is where I didn't realize how the other guys got up on the last turn. This is where I learned how they get up.
Yep. Harma's it, if you were to play a list with Harma and Val and then you've got Swift Advance on top of that, you've got a lot of free maneuvers you can get out of there. So when people talk about having a hard time getting into flanks with free folk, there aren't many excuses when you have that many things available to you.
So that was me asking Brian why they move, and then he goes, "Oh, she does it," and I'm like, "Oh, oh, she does it."
Yep. And there's one model that looks really out of place in that Harma unit, and it is her Bannerman. I don't know if I had called that out in the deployment, but I did have one point hanging around, and instead of putting in something like everyone has an attachment for the most part, except for one Raider unit, so I just threw the Bannerman in there because I think they're fine. I think she's fine with a Bannerman in that unit.
So you can see me constantly measuring out. I have ride by attack, and I'd really like to use it right now.
Yeah, ride by attack as a reminder because Brendan isn't a commander that people play very often due to his availability, really. But the ride by attack that allows you to maneuver over a unit completely, but you can pivot first, so that's important. You pivot, march, and then if you move over any unit, you can resolve a charge attack against them, right?
Yes, sir. It was real good, and I never got a well, I didn't get a good chance to use it here because
Yeah, you didn't have the opportunity because
battle lines.
those so Harma's kind of in the perfect spot for not getting ride by attacked,
Yeah, had she come
and
forward just a little bit more.
and Mance's influence is like put doing work on those Cavaliers because they can't do it because of him. Although maybe
Yes.
with speed 5 they probably couldn't make it either.
With where they're at right now, when we measured it, they would have been able to, but like not earlier. Earlier, it would have just been a possible charge.
Yep. And if I'm remembering correctly, I believe I have a card in my hand where as long as where I score a point for each objective I control, and that's what I'm kind of setting myself up for here. So you can see that the cavemen or the cavemen, I was gonna say Captain Caveman for some reason, but nope. They're just kind of hanging out on one objective, and the bottom raiders are kind of getting ready to settle up on one of their own.
And yeah, that's exactly what you do.
And here's my nightmare. I knew this was coming, but I just wasn't prepared
So
for the
the 7
blow.
attacks in.
Yeah, there were no critical blows here, and I expend the weaken token, and it doesn't do a whole lot better. It's only 6,
Yep.
but no critical blows, so I got lucky on that one too. And bam, look at all those saves.
Yep. And there's my nightmare. I'm like, oh, I just gave away this unit for nothing. I should have just been patient.
Yep, and they
They f-
blow the morale check out of the water. They're like double sixes. The free folk are truly following strength today.
yep. And again, I'm just like, oh,
That's I'm not used to making armor saves with free folk, and that was a pretty legit moment because I really did consign Harma's unit to the pits of despair because of that. I was like, okay, well maybe Weeper can try and get in and charge those flayed men because of the positioning of the cave dwellers. But that palisade now, since I couldn't do what I wanted to do with them, is really like harshing my chill.
I'm not used to you making armor saves with your free folk either.
Yeah, because
And
usually
then,
it's like something sundering, and you're just like, oh, sixes, 3 survived. Oh
I mean,
darn.
even without like sundering, you're still fives. Like
Yeah, it's not good. Usually my morale checks seem to be the ones that look decent.
your
So,
morale checks seem to be decent.
but the armor saves are terrible. So just right now, I replaced the dweller or the alpha with a dweller because I didn't want to cheat on that one. It took a minute to recognize, but
Yep.
but I
And
really
that's what you were
do.
doing is looking that up. That's why
Yeah,
we're
what I really need to do here is I can't do anything with the cave dwellers because John did take the horse from me, so I didn't get that activation out. So I'm charging with my upper unit of cave dwellers because I wanted to stay on the objective because based on the new contesting rules, as long as those cavaliers don't like just bum rush me, it won't be a problem because I'll have more ranks than them anyhow. Uh, but taking I think it was I said I don't want to give you the side on the Cavaliers, but I couldn't say no to double sundering on flayed men.
yep. And I just made 2 saves out of those, and then I failed leadership.
Yeah, I don't think it was by much because it was on the side and with
Yeah, I think it was by
um
1 or 2.
yeah, so there were some wounds that came in there and I'm happy with the way that turned out. Um the Cavaliers are definitely something that I'm concerned with, but right now with the weakened token on them that Mance put out, I can probably mitigate it a little bit, or at least I feel like it's mitigatable. Plus,
I
I do
agree
have a
with you.
trick up my sleeve for it.
And I don't.
This is where you took the long way around the hedge.
Yeah.
Like, we're not going to go over it because you figured no matter what, you couldn't get off of it. So you wanted to
Yep.
try and maneuver around to get off of it, but now you're just trying to center yourself up across those raiders because you don't want them to come in on your flanks either.
Correct.
But I got better ideas with these guys.
Yeah. Yeah. One of us didn't realize you had that card, so I got 3 points of charges. So I
Yeah,
wasn't
you're
upset. And then
and
you get 3 points for sitting on stuff, right?
yeah, I think I've got 2 or 3 objectives for sure right now because there's the one by the hedge, the one in the middle, and I think is it the cave dwellers have one, the raiders have one, maybe Weeper's sitting on one. I'm not sure. I can't remember where, or maybe I'm like, oh, the raiders are gonna move. Nope. I thought that I was gonna move them and then be like, oh, they don't have, they're on an objective. I got to keep them here. Somewhere there's a third objective that I'm sitting on.
Yeah, I'm not really sure where right now myself.
Me neither. So we're
It's all
going
good.
into. I'm throwing
Three.
tokens at John, just whipping them at him. I'm like, get your crap off my table.
Exactly. Yeah, and
So
like right now I'm just we showed object or points.
yep. So this is the first opportunity we get to score these. Um,
You must only have 2.
yeah, I must then. I don't know where the other one is. Maybe the Cavaliers are under it somehow.
Seems likely.
But I don't. I think that when we set up the table and the camera angle, or at least when I did it, I didn't realize that the open deck was not in
Not
view.
visible. Yeah.
But the open mission that we ended up pulling for that one was quite unattainable. I remember that at least. And
I honestly don't remember what it was.
I can't
That's
quite
how
remember.
ineffective. Like that's how much it didn't matter to me.
Yeah, I can't quite remember what it was either. But it wasn't something that we were going to be able to hit easily, so none of us got it. But you reveal one right away, and even though I use matte sleeves, the stupid reflection is killing whatever that card is.
Yeah, so this is the one that says pick an objective on the table. I do have one on the Cavaliers because I was debating putting it on the Cavalier one. Pick an objective on the table. If you have this uncontested, get 3 points.
And I don't know if this is like weird spoiler territory, but my hand at this point was like it wasn't the greatest in the universe. There were definitely some things that were achievable, but I felt like this turn was not so much a throwaway turn for me, but it definitely I wanted to get a card out of my hand that I didn't think I maybe had a chance to get. So I've put down killing the commander, which Brendan
Yeah,
is engaged with right now. So that's why Styre comes down on the swords right away, and I have
did
to
those
throw as
auto
many wounds as
wounds,
I can.
and I flubbed all my saves.
Yeah, so I think Brendan is sitting on 2 wounds right now.
Yup.
It is not looking good for him. So
And
now I'm
so
not feeling so bad about picking that card. And then you fail your morale by 2 or by 1 because of the tree.
I
So now
won.
Brendan
Yep.
has 1 wound, and that's it.
Yep. And so I'm just like, well, I can heal him, but the cave dwellers are activating next turn no matter what. And with Steer, he's
Yes.
dead,
Yep.
right? Like
There's
even
no.
if I heal 3, he's dead.
Yeah, there's no getting
There's
around that. And you can't change facing either because I've got you engaged on 2 different sides.
yep.
So there's
And so
no escape for Brendan right now.
yeah, I'm just kicking myself in the butt for why did I charge Harm's unit for
Well,
nothing?
I guess the thing is though is like you felt like you could take them in one swing, or at least hurt them a bunch.
I felt that I would be able to do quite a bit in one swing, and I normally do, right? And it just didn't work out that time.
No, and I still think that it's hard to cleave through 12 wounds in one shot, especially by the tree. Um,
Oh,
but
for sure.
I also think you were really like you were feeling the you weren't I maybe you weren't like worried about the cave dwellers as much because they haven't performed super great in the past.
Well, I had the card in my hand where if you fail,
Direwolf's
uh,
fervor.
no, if you fail your check, Brendan's card, if you fail your check, you get like an automatic 3 wounds or something like that if
Oh,
it's Brendan
gotcha.
attacking.
Hmm.
So that's why I felt like I could probably take them in one go around, right? Like charge in, do the work, and then it's not so bad.
Hmm. And I think for you right now that this is a little bit of a long turn because you're trying to figure out if there's anything in your deck that can help you,
Yeah,
and
because
you're pulling it up on your War Council app, and just like because you're kind of in oh shit mode right now, right?
yeah,
Like
exactly.
your unit of flayed men, the only unit of flayed men that you have, um, is down to 1 wound,
They're
and
failing me hard.
yeah, there's you're just trying to
And
dig through for a way to get out of it.
if at any point they could make a leadership check, I'd be able to burn one of Edard's orders.
Hmm.
But yeah, no, there's no cards in my deck that are going to help them. So screw it. I'm going to take the horses and do a charge
Well, and
because
if I remember right, oh yeah, you were like, okay, well, I think we were discussing a lot on this one. Like, I'm really disappointed that we forgot to turn our little like streaming mic on because we did stream this game live. We just didn't have audio
the
for the
mic on for
first
the
half
most
of it.
part. Yeah.
So we had some really in-depth conversation trying to explain to the people who couldn't listen to us what
What we're
it
doing
was
and
we were
why.
thinking about, and there's some real deep talk here. But
Yeah. Oh, and then I took it back.
yeah, I was gonna say, I'm pretty sure you take this one back, and now you're just like, I'm gonna swing these 6 dice and try and get out of this.
Why am I rolling 2 dice?
It was a morale test for something.
Oh, you played a card and made me do a
Oh, it
morale
was
test, or
there's
I
too
can't do
many. So I
anything.
gave you a
Yeah,
panic test at -2, and you passed it. Then I made Weeper make you re-roll it, and you still passed it. And I'm still throwing up good numbers for saves. I only lose a couple bodies there, but
there we go.
that one hurts. So, I still only lose
But
6 people because of that tree. So
yep,
Harma is standing on that hill alone,
yep.
but
And then this is where
she's
I'm just like, she's dead. I'm done with this game.
yeah, that was one of Brendan's cards that
That
lets you do
was
some extra wounds.
Yeah, that was the card that I wanted to do on the charge, but
Hmm.
you made all your saves, and I'm like, oh, well, this doesn't make a whole hell of a lot of sense to use right now.
And since you're engaged, you don't get to shift around, so you're still on the side.
Yeah,
And
and
then we're like, well, there's no reason to roll the attack out with the cave dwellers because um, Steyer's just gonna get him.
yeah, and like you roll the D, the D3, and then if you want to roll all your dice and feel better about it, you can.
Nope,
Like
just
if I
D3
would
will
have
do it.
gone on, if I would have gone on the whatchamacallit bags, but like
Yeah.
it would have been a waste, and I stand by that.
No, I think so too. It just would have been a weird way of denying the inevitable.
Yep, and now
And
I do the charge.
yep.
I don't
So
think it's denying the inevitable. I think it's just I wasted
or yeah,
activation.
not deny the inevitable, just push it off. Delay the inevitable, I think is.
Exactly. Delay.
And
So only 4 for you this time, right?
yeah, not a whole lot of wounds coming in on these guys. And they do all right, which I guess is fine.
They made
Like
one.
they made one, that's better than what I usually expect from them. But the morale test
There we
does what
go.
it always does, and just like
Not
murders half
not
the unit.
not always, just a couple times this game.
I don't know, double ones one game or one roll and a three the other one. Like this is the free folk life, and
That's the price of making all your armor saves, Brian.
I enjoy it. So here, this is where funky charges happen, where I'm charging off the table, or not off the table, but I'm trying to get to 50%. The table's not going to let me, so instead I shift myself up because I can't shift you.
Yep. Which is just such a weird like I still understand why you decided to do the charge that way. But no judgment.
Yeah, I think I'm really concerned about these outriders,
Yeah, and
and I just
all I
need
don't
to
think I
deal
made
with
a
them.
single one of those saves, did I?
No, I don't think so. I rolled 7 dice, and you failed 6 of them, at
Yeah.
least. And then there's a couple wounds left on that other horse. So yeah, maybe you didn't fail us. Maybe you didn't pass a single one. But you do retreat backwards after getting hit, which
Yep.
is a little
And I
bit of a
made the
bummer.
morale, so then I healed
Yep.
and got my rank back,
Hmm.
which
Is
that's
not
as much
good
as
for
I can
me.
hope for. Like,
I know it. Yeah, when you're when looking at cave dwellers with cavalry, losing a rank is massive because being able to get vicious and sundering at the same time is pretty harsh for them. There's not a ton of cavalry other than your Tully Cavaliers up there that can do that have a decent morale, really.
yeah, and they help, right? Like they just make that better.
Yeah, there's part of me wonders if Brendan plays better as a brick. Um, yep, the Cavaliers were sitting on an objective.
Yep. Peekaboo.
So yeah,
So this
here we're
is
trying to ride by.
yep. And we do the pivot thing, and I can pivot over you because the card says I can,
Yep. But
and then move
landing
over
space
you.
on that side of the table is not something that's easy to achieve. There's like maybe 2 inches over there, so there's not a ton of space for those Cavaliers to land. So
Yeah.
we're just really
Like
trying
in
hard here to thread
hindsight,
the
I would have
needle.
been able to just like thread the needle barely to the back right corner. You know what I
Hmm.
mean? And then just pivoted, and this would have been much easier.
Yeah. No, I think it's going to take
But
some getting used to with this
oh, for
list
sure.
and the maneuvering of the cavalry in weird, strange ways. But I do think that when, if Brendan ever actually releases, this is really going to be a list that can contend well.
I enjoyed it. It was a fun list.
The cave dwellers take some pretty massive casualties, but they do pass some. They pass some of those saves, and we did. If you notice the dice we rolled, we have a small debate amongst ourselves on whether the ride by attack allows you to use the lance, because the lance can only be used when charging, but the ride by attack refers to charge attack, which doesn't actually exist in the game. So we just played it out where you get your lance rule.
Yeah, it just seemed like the natural go. I don't understand why I didn't activate that back unit first.
Hmm. Well, and I kind of wish that you did, because now I kind of jacked my cave dwellers out of being able to do anything worthwhile. But that free folk raider unit,
And then I
oh,
should have retreated, right? I already retreated
you
earlier.
retreated once already. Yep.
Yeah.
So the order was no bueno.
Yep.
Um, but my based on the way I've positioned that free folk raiders, the four that are left, they are the cave dwellers are not able to get in on those outriders.
Yeah, and this is just me dancing that unit around because they have all the movement in the world. I just need to figure out how to do it.
Hmm.
And I decide to, go forward so that if I get attacked, I can just trigger the retreat order and then get an inch away and still be on top of the objective.
Yeah, because you for your your hand dictates that I think you want to get um, another objective thing, but you
Well,
don't
yeah,
know where to
because
commit them yet.
yeah, and I don't know what I'm doing at this point at all.
Hmm.
So then that bottom unit activates. 3 saves is all I get out of that. And Brian fails them. And then he takes a morale check, right?
Yeah, this was for all the
Oh, you must have already
all the
taken it.
biscuits. Yeah, maybe we missed the morale check, but they passed
But
it.
it passed it. And I'm like, oh, dang.
And that one
And then I'm
single
just like
model left is a
staring at
raid
the cave
leader.
dwellers. And I'm like, I'm not even mad anymore.
Yeah, the one model that's left in there is the raid leader, so it's very fortunate that he lived. So now I'm kind of confused with what I want to do with Weeper. I already wasted a turn with him taking out the palisade, because things just like Steyer on the combat zone was always too um, valuable to waste it by taking out the palisade. So I decide to move the Weeper's unit around to get into a position where if the Outriders decide to commit to the middle of the table, I can start getting to them. Also, those Cavaliers that are currently off screen, so it must be like 5 or 6 inches that are
Yeah, we're
left
pretty
over there.
off.
Um, the Cavaliers that are up there, like I need to make sure that I can plan for them too. And there's my ridiculous throne that we can't seem to find a good place for.
Oh, there's your saves against steer.
Yeah, I was really hoping to not roll D3 hits. Or I mean, I had to roll D3 hits, but I wasn't hoping to roll 3 of them.
Yep.
It was not good.
And
So
the
like,
open objective, I don't know if we said it or not, was if you have one and only one objective, you get a point or something like that.
yeah, and I think my cave dwellers are still on theirs, but the raiders pulled off of them, so that was good that I barely got on top of that objective so that I could get off of it
Yeah, so I
easily.
got 4 points this turn
Yep, and I think you have
to
the
match
yeah,
your
yep.
4 points.
Yep, so we're in the tide boat right now.
I should be one
Actually, I
point
have
ahead.
6. I have 6 from killing Brendan and having 2 points
Yeah, I
previously,
meant
so
this
I think
turn. We both got 4 points this turn,
yeah. Mhm.
so I should still be a point ahead because I was at 3 and you were at 2. And so I'm just trying to figure out how can I close out this game with the hand that I've got dealt.
Yeah, because that Brendan, or killing Brendan to get 4 points out of that, was a huge rubber band for me.
And so I put down a card, objective card for have the crown get a point, have the missive get a point, have both get 3. That's my secret, and I'm gonna get the cards.
Yep, and I honestly can't remember what my secret objective was for this one. It was not something that was I think it might have even just been hold the middle objective or something like that. I'm not sure. Um, yeah, I just can't remember. I didn't get any low hanging fruit in my hand like just take these zones and get points.
Yep, I got that one, and I thought it was useless for the most part. Cause I'm like, yeah, like I'm gonna get this, and
Well,
you
the
know,
nice thing about those being
engage.
secret like that though is you just have it.
Yeah, like I feel I felt confident doing it because I had top of turn, and why would you go crowns at me right now?
Hmm. There's
It
no
makes
reason
no
for me to.
sense.
But over here, there was a small attack that the one raider unit didn't do anything.
And then
But
I
now I'm
forgot
getting
to retreat with that unit.
yeah, that was. I think we discussed it, and it was like once we finished the charge, we had realized that you could have maneuvered, and we just moved on.
Yep, it's all good. Keep going.
But
And
lots of casualties. That unit
yeah,
has 4 wounds left,
yep. And I'm like, oh, if only I would have got rid of my direwolf's fervor.
and we failed morale by 1. So, or no, I guess it was enough to
It
kill the
was
unit.
it took the unit. Yeah, it was. I failed by 4.
Oh yeah, that's right, because they're not 6.
Yep.
You fail, yeah, by enough to kill him.
Yep. And then I'm like, well, crown zap. You know what? Vengeance for that one guy.
Yep. So now I think I believe you're trying to get that raid leader because just being able to have the double activations is threatening enough.
Yeah.
He
And I
makes it
wanted
though.
vengeance for
Oh
my
wait,
poor
no, he
buddy.
failed by
No,
1 stupid.
he failed by 1.
I saw the 8 and I was like, aces, and I'm like, no, the crown gives you -1.
Yep. So I feel good right now because I'm at 7 points and I just sealed my chance to get 3. And
Hmm.
then I don't remember what the objective that's up is, but I know that I scored it.
Yeah, I'm not 100% sure what it is either, but I'm worried about those Cavaliers coming into the side of Weeper, so I decide to body block them with the Cave Dwellers
Which is a good play.
because they're not doing any real work this turn. So I just figured they'd run they'd run the side game. But right now, like with my other Cave Dweller unit being at the back of the table and the Raiders kind of already having done their thing, I'm not getting victory through combat points on this one. So they don't really know what to do. Um,
Yeah.
Currently, it looks like the Outrider unit is panicked and vulnerable, probably from a
Oh, that's what
previous.
yours is. You had the one that has all 3 on them, and then
Yeah.
you got points for it.
Oh yeah, you're right. Because I was like, oh, I'm gonna shut this unit down, but then
Yeah.
I don't think um, it's easy when Mance has that whole like, well, I'm just gonna turn your unit into poop thing because you can't tell if I'm really trying to do that or if I'm really actually going for that card. Because you're out of NCUs, you can't stop me from
No, you
stacking
at
you up.
all. And at this point, I'm like, all right, well, I got my vengeance there. I think this is the objective that's facing is the one that's like get a point for every objective you're on.
Could be.
And that's why because I couldn't get all the way on that one, or I could get all the way on that one.
Yeah, you were able to. But I
And I
think
want
the
this.
with what we are trying to figure out is if the Weeper, if you could get into a place where you could be on the objective and not be in Weeper's front arc, but that
Yep,
wasn't going to be able to happen.
that was not.
So we charge. So now taking you holding that, like right now, I contest the objective. Like you don't have it anymore.
Yep. And I forgot about that.
So I hit with everything. Hitting on 3 pluses with bone guys is really nice.
Bone
Um,
Bros are pretty decent.
yeah, I think that it's weird that people undervalue them so much. I mean, they have their problems. Like I still think horrific visage is a dumb ability, especially when you forget to use it every single time, like I do. But just like people's experience, they have experience with hitting on threes with gang up and the cave dwellers. So just having that innately is really good, and being able to unpack them at full capacity is also really good.
Yep. So I failed three, it looks like.
Yeah, those guys did work.
And then leadership hits.
Yeah, your leadership should be fine. I think those guys are simmering at a morale 4 with that
Yeah.
tree. Like they're not going nowhere because of that.
And then you attack again for some reason.
Steyer went down on the combat zone. That's why the D3 was in there
Uh, yeah. So then I
because
just
you're
took
out activated right now
by a lot. Yep. And
by
so I
by
took
one.
by a lot, Brian, by a lot.
But I think this is we're getting to the point here where we're closing, getting close to the end of the game.
Yeah.
Um,
All my stuff's activated, all your stuff's activated, and not quite activated for you yet, right?
ooh, that was not good.
Yeah, look at that, Brian. Snake eyes on that leadership.
Yep, I was because
And I got to
I
put a
was
guy back.
all ready to use that. I guess Reaper already used his re-roll the panic test,
No,
but
that was what that was right there. I'm
oh,
like, hey, I made that. And then you're like, do you want me to re-roll that? And you're like, no. I'm like, what about Weeper? Because there's a panic token on them.
yep. So this is where I go up to 7 because of um the panic or the token card, and then you
You
get
went up
up
to
to 10.
9,
Oh, yeah, you're right.
and then I got up to 10, but then I think I also scored whatever the global objective was.
Yeah, so it was
So I went
um
to 11. So
yep,
I
it
wasn't
was
sure if you had another 4-point swinger in your deck.
nope, it was a really close game at the end. I know that scoring the main objective put it way out of my ability to kind of get close to you, but without that, we're sitting pretty even at 10-9. There's Winds of Winter is a really strange scenario to record and talk about since there are so many moving parts. Um, but there is with the way the new scenario works, I think that there is a lot of uh, legit planning that can go into how you unfold your turns. So I think there were quite a few people who have wiped Winds of Winter out of their competitive playlist for scenarios. How do you feel about this one when it comes to like wrapping it back in? Do you think the changes were enough to get people um, on board with it for competitive play, or do you think it's
I,
still too volatile?
I don't know if people are going to be, but I enjoyed it.
So if you went to an
And
event tomorrow and Winds of Winter popped up in the playlist, how would you react?
so first off, if I go to an event tomorrow, it means I'm not at work, so I'm happy regardless. if it, but no, even like on a Saturday, um, I'm fine, right? But I was also one of those people that you and I played it enough where I was fine with it before.
Oh yeah, I
But
will still stand by if you feel like Winds of Winter is like the end of the universe, literally sit down with that deck of cards and go over them one every night. Just like if you're pooping, put your phone down and grab the Winds of Winter deck and go through it and just understand how to recognize what your opponent's going for.
yeah, that'll go a long ways in helping. And I think now more so than ever, like they made it so like you can't score both during your turn anymore. Because there were, in previous Wins of Winter, you could score both of your cards and the objective that was public
Yeah.
and just skyrocket, right?
Yeah, 7 point turns weren't uncommon.
And now you can't.
Mhm.
And one thing that never even came up for us was take the tactics and instead of doing the tactics effect, swap swap your secret objective card. The tactic zone is just too contested in order for that to really matter, in my opinion.
I also think the trade-off getting switching drawing 2 cards and 1 condition token for what seems like an arbitrary ability to switch out your secret mission card is not a really great trade, I think.
The only way that it's a great trade is if you are able to switch it for one of those 4-point objectives.
Yeah, like if that turn
But
that Brendan got jacked up, um if I had put out an objective that I thought was more attainable than that, then yeah, I could see the benefit to trying to go for that. But like you had said, the tactics position or the missive position is
it's
too
not open.
valuable. It's like both players want it. No one doesn't want cards in their hand.
Yeah, and I feel like that position, that spot is taken right away. If it's not one of the first three moves of the game or the that round, that's abnormal.
Exactly, yeah. Or it's in the late game where it's like, okay, we have way too many things to do right now to be screwing around with cards.
Yeah,
So I think like what you might be getting at is the idea of maybe trying to blast that ability out to just be an evergreen ability that says any zone you take you could switch it out for,
and I
because
think
that,
that would be a huge change.
yeah, because it switching out the cards, at least, and this is my hot take, or not hot take on it. I mean, we've been sitting on this game for like a week now, and I've played at least one other Winds of Winter game, maybe two if I'm not mistaken. I can't remember. I know I played one against Mark. Um, but the if you're with us having the access to the cards in our hand and saying, okay, at the start of my turn, this is the card that I'm going to pick and try and manufacture. Um, the need to switch the card becomes less palatable because you're trying to
Yeah,
set up for it, right? So just putting that on all the zones, it's not like this is some broken ability that can only be tied to the one. Like thematically, it makes sense. Like, oh, we're gonna send you this message, right, buddy? But like in the actual application of the game, the times that that's gonna really come up and help you is, I feel like it's really slim.
yep. I agree fully with that statement. I just to me, it's not worth it on the tactics board or on the missive slot 9 times out of 10, maybe even worse.
Yeah, and if you made it that just an evergreen rule for every slot on the tactics board, you still have the option to do it on the tactics slot if you absolutely are backed into a corner and need to do it there. Um,
But like even if it was an evergreen ability, like you said, I still don't know when I'm not gonna take horses and make that free maneuver. You,
well, if I accidentally kill your commander and have a card in my have my secret card being like score to get a point for each objective you control, yeah, I'll probably switch it.
yeah,
So it, like I said, it's really corner case. So I think having a like the act of having that ability be so corner case means that it really shouldn't be so limited in the ability to make the switch. You know what I mean? Like
yeah, it
it's,
being that rare doesn't make a lot of sense.
yeah, it's rare for the occurrence to come up where you need to do that, and then it's also rare for you to actually get the opportunity to do that because the missive is one of the top three things you do in the first two turns.
Well, and could you even switch out the commander one after killing the commander? Because that one's a when you kill the commander card, isn't it?
I'm not 100% sure. The the actual wording on the cards is not something that I'm extremely well versed on. So maybe it is you reveal it when you kill the commander. So if
Yeah,
you
so like
killed the
that's just me
commander
saying it's
post
even
and
more corner case.
yeah. I guess if you have the one where it's like take the tactics and the maneuver, and your opponent has take the tactics and the crown, then they take one or the other, and you're like, okay, well, this is no longer a valuable card to me. You could switch it, but the one spot you share is the tactics zone, so you're really not going to be able to switch it anyways.
Yep.
So
And
I think we're both pretty much on the same page when it's like that should be an ability for all the zones
yeah, for sure.
because it is so rare. To be honest with you, I think halfway through the game I forgot it was even an ability I could do because I was setting up all my turns with those cards in mind. There was no departure from them.
Correct. And that's the other reason why it's corner case.
Hmm. Well, I know that the the Weeper game was something that a lot of people were very interested in trying to see. Like I'm enjoy the idea of um, putting up a couple options for lists on the Facebook group to let people kind of pick what I play because I think it gives a neat idea of engagement and They get to see what they want to,
I mean, the
instead of
next
me
time you do
just.
it, put 2 lists up, and then
I think we might try and do a community build list. Do you remember those with War Machine?
I sure do.
They where you just get this god awful like paper mache looking list where nothing makes sense, and one kind soul out there offers you the support piece that you need. You're like,
Yep.
Thank you so much
I'm running Surges
for giving
without
me."
anything that I want.
I feel like they'd be like, "Nope, Brian, you're gonna play Spearwives and Trappers and nothing else."
But yeah, no, next time you do it, if you want to put 2 lists up,
Yeah, I'll make
invite
sure
me
I do that.
along.
I was kind of apprehensive about saying, okay, we're going to show off the Weeper list against an all Cav one, but I think overall it seemed to work out fine. I know I kind of wanted to showcase the Bone Bros here, but they didn't really get a chance to do much. They were kind of acted like expensive raiders, which is really not representative of how I actually think these things function. It's just the way this one shook out. So I'm not giving up on Bone Bros at least until what I expect is going to be the October release of Thens.
Fence.
Now I'm saying October as a really baseless speculation. So don't go around on the internet saying October is going to be the Then drop. I just have an idea that Thens and crossbows will come out then.
So it's Thentober.
Yeah, I think it's going to be Thentober. I'm pretty sure I'm stuck on getting 3 units of those. I think 3 is going to be fine.
2
Especially,
for sure. 3's not a
especially.
bad choice.
Well, the big reason for 3 is 3 of those attachments.
Say 3 of those attachments is a fair reason.
Yep, getting little
Especially
Tywins
with
running
Mance.
around is nice.
Yeah.
Yeah, they don't even need to charge them like the Walmart version of condition output like the Cave Dweller Alpha. These guys are like they're like the festival.
Just take it. Just take it. You're done.
Yep, I'm activating your weekend. Suck it. All right. Well, thanks for tuning in and watching this. I know we got a little bit chatty towards the end of this one, but I think it's important to talk about not just the lists in terms of like how they function, but like the new scenarios that are popping out are super awesome. Like all these changes are so good, and I think that it's good to take some of these more maligned ones and kind of talk through what the improvements were so that people aren't so averse to them. I know that I imagine John's going to spend a lot of time trying to convince me that Clash of Kings is now not the most garbage scenario in the universe.
No, I'm really not.
Well, maybe I might flip my perspective on it. It's definitely not going to be a 180. I can promise you that, though.
I need to play it, but I don't think that it's my cup of tea because all of my attachments are character, Brian.
But they come back.
Characters don't come back still.
I didn't see that.
I didn't think characters came back. I'd have to take a look.
I thought it said all like there was no more character restriction on it, and I was
Oh, if
like,
there's
oh
no
my
more
god,
character
Joffrey's
restriction
unit
on it,
can
I
come
might be
back.
in there. Yeah.
Guard's unit can come back, and another one was like the big reason why I was like, oh, characters can come back is first of all, it wasn't mentioned in the scenario at all, and second of all, they said if a unit that gives you victory points when it gets killed comes back, it no longer gives those points when they die again. There are only 2 units that do that, technically 3,
3.
and it's they're all characters
Yep.
because Rickon, Joffrey,
Frickin'
and
Joffrey.
Mamie.
Yep.
They all award victory points. Could you imagine how disgusting that would be to have Mame Jamie keep coming back and
I can.
beating on his unit and getting extra victory points every time you kill it?
Oh man.
Yeah,
Yeah, that's actually a good point.
It's
Now
like, oh, somebody came. They like the Stark sworn swords are like they captured Jamie, and now we got him back as the Lannisters. And then like next turn, oh, they got him again.
oh,
They're
he's
like,
gone again.
it's like watching one of those like Laurel and Hardy type films where people have like butter hands and they're dropping Jamie all over the place.
We can't seem to keep a Jamie around.
I think we've got to the point where most people have either tuned out or have just given up on this channel. Thanks for watching.
See ya.